What's up, everybody? So in today's video, what we are going to go over is basically how to flight your wedges 101. So if we look at a lot of tour players and we look at the way that these guys launch wedges, believe it or not, even though this is a high lofted golf club right here, you're going to see the launch of this come out significantly lower. So we're going to go over a few ways of how you can learn how to maximize your compression, how you can get that golf ball to launch a heck of a lot more penetrating, and how we can gain more control over what the golf ball is doing when we're hitting this wedge shot right here. So the first thing to understand when it comes to hitting a wedge right here, we have a lot of loft right here. So if we come into impact with a lot of loft, what this allows the golf ball to ride up the club face too much, which creates a higher launch, even to the point sometimes where you can actually lose spin as opposed to increasing spin and friction based on what this is doing. So in a perfect world scenario, what we want to see a golf club doing down here through impact is we want to see this face moving closer to a straight line to where we are able to get the golf ball to stick and stay on this club face for a heck of a lot longer versus it just sliding up the face right here. So there's a couple of ways that I like to do this in regards to learning how to flight your wedges. So number one thing, understanding face to path relationships, one with the amount of loft that we have on this club, the amount of loft, and also how vertical the swing plane is typically, as a good rule, wedges are going to curve at a 4-to-1 ratio. So our path can be out, our face could still be 1, and that's going to produce about the same curvature as what a 7-iron would at a 2-to-1 ratio. And that is due to the swing, basically the vertical swing plane at impact, and also the amount of loft on the golf club. So first things first, in understanding that, what I like to do right here is I'm going to take my club face and I'm actually going to grip it fairly closed like this. And then from here, I'm just going to take my normal grip, and there I'm going to push my handle forward more onto my lead leg. So that is going to be squaring up the club face by, we can see right here, this club face is closed, and I'm going to be squaring up the club face by pushing my handle a little bit forward. Big thing to understand with this, the only club and the only shot that I would typically teach this with, or that I would do this with a player, is with half wedge shots, maybe some 3/4 wedge shots. But in regards to fuller length motions, 7-irons, a little bit down from that, a little bit up from that, I'm probably not going to teach this. This is going to be more so specifically for a wedge right here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the club face, we're going to close it a little bit. This would be closing at 90 degrees. We're probably going to cut that in half right there. So somewhere around this look right here where this is closed to the direction of my spine. And I'm going to push the handle forward to now where this leading edge is more in line with my spine right here as I set that down. And my lead hand is going to be more in line with my lead leg. Guys, so that is going to be one of the things that's going to help us up our compression and get that golf ball to stick to the club face more. So when you first start off this, I would start by just actually clipping a few little almost chip length or shaft parallel to the ground length, and just going here and feeling like this club is staying low. So we would just be going to have a little bit more of a hold off feel to it. So like if you look at when I swing towards you right here, when I've got this club set up right here, this is going to be more of my release pattern right in there. So the club face is not going to be, I'm not going to roll it over and release it. So I'm not adding a lot of supination of the lead arm, pronation of the trail arm. I'm going to be keeping these pretty neutral where my elbows are staying with my rib cage right here. So this is going to be more of my look, and it's almost like this preset that I have in regards to hinge here at setup. This is what I'm going to be maintaining all the way through this shot. So the first place that we should start is just actually making contact with the golf ball so that we can then start to move this into a motion with more speed. So I would go here, push the handle forward. So that looks square. My ball position is in the center of my feet, and I'm going to feel like this club is staying low, impact, low initially. So I'm right here, low, low launch right there, and contact is very good. Now, another place that this is extremely vital to be able to control our impact is making sure that our feet are super grounded and that our knees are not acting as an independent. And what I mean by that is where I say the knees are not acting as an independent, I am not conscientiously trying to move my knee separately of what my pelvis is doing right here. Because when we start doing that, as soon as the knees start moving independently here, when the knees start moving, that has the ability to affect what the pelvis is doing. And what we don't want to have happen is I move the knee and I go this way, now the swing plane gets too vertical, and then we will start seeing some excessive closure of the face. So like if I showed you a bad one here of what I see out of some players when they start working on this, when they get overactive with the knees, they'll go, oh, that's turned into a mess over there to the left because how much we stood up. And when we stand up, this is going to create more reach, more, and that's going to get the club face to roll more through the hitting area, which is definitely not what we are looking for inside of this shot. So I really want to feel a very stable base. So if you watch this right here from a face-on standpoint, you'll see I'm still turning from my torso. I'm still creating side bend. I'm still creating rotation. The pelvis is moving minimally, but what I'm not allowing to have happen is I'm not allowing the knees to operate as an independent. These are staying fairly stationary. So if I move the pelvis moved my femur, moved my knee, which is actually creating more torque for me up against the ground right there. This is a hugely important piece so that we have the ability to control the angle of descent moving into the golf ball and the ascent angle, which is after the ball. Descent would be moving into it, ascent would be moving after impact right there. So we want to have a lower descending angle and a lower ascending angle because that is going to make the golf ball launch quite a bit lower. So as we get in here and we do this again, what I'm going to have you really pay close attention to right here is my knees. So I might have a little bit of extra knee flex right here into the ground so that I'm getting lower, because the lower I get this knee flex, this is what allows me to reach more and keep this golf club lower to the ground here, so that then when I return this at shaft parallel, you can see how close to the ground this is, and this would be where arm speed is starting to kick in. Very important, arm speed, not hand speed. Arm speed is moving this way, hand speed would be moving that direction. So we are not accessing a lot of hand speed inside of the shot. We are accessing more stability from the legs and from the ground and from the pelvis. And then we are accessing more arm speed at the time and place that we would like to create speed to hit the shot that deems necessary. So I'd be right here. You can see I've got a little bit of extra knee flex in. I've still got my spine angle over the ball right here. My handle is forward, face is square, and I'm going to feel like I reach back low, impact, so you can see what my knees are doing. Inflex the whole entire time right here. So I'm here. Low here, I have finished with the golf club. So that to me felt like a wedge shot that I brought back about this far, and I was able to carry that with a sand wedge probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 yards by creating speed at the right place and at the right time. So when we go into where our speed is created. Speed is always going to be created basically once this club gets to hip high or parallel to the ground, maybe fractionally before, but a good relationship would be where the shaft is parallel to the ground. When this is worked into its fall already, this is where I can work on accelerating the arms and moving those at a relationship where they are staying with my rib cage area, not moving behind so that I can actually keep my arms moving at the same rate as what my chest is moving right there. We do not want to see the arms getting way out, nor do we want to see the chest getting way out in front. All of this is more of a 1-to-1 ratio right here. So those would be our big keys in regards to the ground, the ascent angle, the descent angle, and what we're doing to bring the dynamic loft of the club down by gripping it a little more closed, bringing the handle forward, and then feeling like we are keeping the same relationship with what the arm and the wrist is doing. Because you can see this club face is still square to what my spine is, even though we have gripped the face a little bit more closed because we have not accessed supination, supination from the lead arm, pronation from the trail arm, and we have not activated any elongating or shortening of what the wrists are doing right there, okay? So I'm gonna do one more like this, and then I'm gonna show you a station that you could work on. You could work on this inside of. So I'm right in here, knee flex, I'm gripping the ground. I'm gonna feel low to impact through, keeping that left arm, my lead arm, and my wrist the same right there. So I'd be here, I'd be there, so we can see that golf ball coming out relatively low. So one of my favorite stations with this eye range stick right here is I've got an antenna. I'm gonna lengthen this antenna out so that I have a relationship now that I could throw this pool noodle on the side of my swing. So if I backed up a little bit here, we don't want to see the club getting to impact quickly to where we would hit that, because if we get this ascent angle moving up too quickly, that is going to have an effect on how the face is actually being released, what the curvature is doing, and where we have this minute grip adjustment with the face, we want to keep this square throughout our entire motion. So as we're right in here, the first place that I would do this, and this is a pretty cool little drill right here, so I'm about an arm's length away, so I can reach to where this alignment stick right here would be, this pool noodle. And from here, I'm gonna feel my knee flex stays in, so I'm gonna swing it back the height of that alignment stick through. I'm going to try and finish with this club underneath my shoulder line, or where this blue noodle is here. So I would be in here, and we're going to see how low we can actually get some of these to launch. So I've got the close, handle is forward to bring it back to square. My spine, ball position is about in the center of my stance right here. My knee flexes in. I'm going to go low, finishing underneath there. So I'll do a slow one first, low, swing right there. That's still carried about there. And what's neat is, once again, when we start understanding where speed is going to be created, when this gets down to here, this is where I can on my arms, because my feet are stable into the ground, and again, my knees are not acting as an independent. So we're going to speed this one up just a little bit. Be here, impact, right. I'd be here. And that ball I carried about 115 yards right there with that length of motion. And what's really cool about this is I can feel how the golf ball is just sticking to the club face. I'm creating a lot of friction with it right there, and that ball is coming out a lot more penetrating. Now, another option that everybody can use right here, it is not a necessity, it is something I choose to do, but you can do it two different ways. We can start with our weight 50-50, and we can move our pressure into this lead side, or we can start with a golf ball or two of pressure forward. And what I mean by that is, if this is my belt buckle, I'm going to move that one golf ball, two golf balls forward, so that now I'm presenting the center of my body. My shoulders are still fairly level, pelvis is still fairly level, and that is so that I can create the turf interaction that I want. I don't want to see a ton of left bend starting out, nor do I want to see a ton of trail side bend right there, because that's going to affect the path and that's going to affect the low point right there. So I would start with a golf ball to two golf balls left. I'm in here and I'm creating that speed. So I'll do one more right here for you. So I've got the face grip closed. I push the handle forward to where that face is now square. Handle is now sitting on my lead leg. Knees are flexed. I've put a little bit of pressure forward, and I'm gonna feel like I'm reaching, keeping this club low. Impact. You can see how I've still got knee flex in there. So I would be here. Again, that golf ball went very straight, 115 yards. And again, you can see this is where my release pattern is getting to where I've maintained the same angle that I started with my lead arm. So there is a cool way for you to work on how to gain more control of your contact, of your flight, and of your wedge shots, so that you can flight the golf ball the way that you want, control the distance, traj, compression, etc. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you enjoyed this video today. Click that link below to subscribe. If you haven't, go ahead and click the other link I have right there. Watch that video on understanding setup for free. Look out for these videos every single Friday coming to you on YouTube. Thanks.